I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to take back your consciousness and stop allowing what some people call the matrix hive mind to control you. Okay, because this, I say it in that way because it's not that the matrix hive mind is not real. It's just that I think that this can be like misinterpreted and like misunderstood. And I want to go a little bit more in depth in this video in terms of how to really take back your consciousness and stop allowing this sort of thing outside of you that we believe is outside of us to control us. Let's talk about that in this video. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, all the ways to do that, to get in contact with me, will be down below in the description box of this video and in the comments of this video as well. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you is really, really important because I think that people can I don't want to say that word again. It's just that people can not see the significance is what I'm trying to say of thinking for yourself. And that's the point. The point is to think for yourself, okay? I think that most people really fail to see the power of independent thinking. Because if you don't think for yourself, if you don't have the courage to be like, you know what, like maybe all these people around me are thinking in this way, but I don't want to think in that way. That doesn't resonate for me. That's not my preference. I don't see anything as bad. It's not bad, but it doesn't feel right to me. And so thinking in this way doesn't actually feel good to me. So I need to think in a different way so that actually I can be the person that I want to be that actually feels right. Right? And this is an interesting conversation because sometimes how you feel doesn't really matter in the sense that you want to be disciplined towards your goal and who you prefer it to be, regardless of your feelings, because your feelings and being and trusting, you know, what feels right to you sometimes doesn't make sense. But there's other times where you know that to be a certain way, you gotta trust how you feel, if that makes sense. So it all depends on the moment, but ultimately what you want to do is think for yourself. Now, going a little bit deeper in terms of what I just meant, what I really mean is that, you know, let's just say you're in a moment and you know that based on a past mistake, you have to show up in the world in a certain way. You know what I mean? But that feeling of the past comes up. So what do you do in that moment? Do you trust the feeling, or do you honor that you know that being that old way is going to generate a certain kind of mistake once again? You already know that it's going to result in that kind of a situation and that kind of a circumstance. So what do? Well, you got to keep thinking for yourself and not trust how you feel in that sense, because you know that to honor who you prefer to be, that's going to feel much better. Does that make sense? That's going to start to feel so much better because now you're starting to honor how you actually feel in the bigger picture, not just moment to moment. And then you start to feel better moment to moment because you start to have a thought process that actually makes sense in terms of who you want to be. So what I'm really trying to share is that you got to start to trust what feels right, in the sense what feels right to think as well. Like if thinking a certain way doesn't feel right to you, well, wouldn't that be like this is gonna sound kind of crazy. Like, just hear me out here for a second. Wouldn't that be like the definition of, like, I don't want to say this, but like I'm just gonna say it, of like being possessed? Like that's what it means to be possessed. When you're allowing thought entities to control your decisions and to be something that you don't want to be. Like that to me is just like that should, like, don't you think, like, when I say it in that way, shouldn't that like result in like a feeling of, like, I don't want to say like disgust, but like a strong disresonance, right? Does that make sense? Like, shouldn't that happen? Like, we should feel disresonant when you start to feel like you're losing your sense of who you are because of a thought entity. So that means you got to think for yourself, and you got to think like, wait, if there's thoughts coming into my consciousness, thought forms, old identities, old thought patterns, old even emotions, but, you know, I'm just talking about thinking right now, which then leads to the emotions, and it's all connected, right? The body and the mind are not separate, but really thinking for yourself is the first component to, believe it or not, emotional mastery. Do you want to become a master of your emotions? Do you want to become a master of your energy? Well, the thing that is really important is actually, believe it or not, and I think that, I don't know why, like some people do touch upon this, like Eckhart Tolle. If you know Eckhart Tolle, really powerful and popular spiritual teacher, even what he says, and what he says is that the mind is just a tool, but you want to be able to use the mind. Now, are you allowing your mind to use you, or do you want to use the mind? So, like, I was going to say that a lot of spiritual teachers, I think, don't talk about this. Some do, but I think that it's really not significant. It's not spoken enough, and it's not made explicitly, it's not communicated in an explicit way how important it is, in my opinion, to think for yourself, to have independent thinking. Shouldn't you think for yourself in moments of development when you're becoming a new person? Let me ask you this, how do you really think society has developed to the point that it's at now? Development and you could say, I don't really like the word expansion, because I feel like expansion has this sort of connotation to it which can be like add unnecessary fear. What I'm talking about is just becoming better. Do you think that society was to become, and you could say it's expansion, it's all just, at the end of the day, it's all just vocabulary, right? It's just words, like it's just words, blah blah blah. But word, in this case, what I really mean by the word is just getting better, evolving, and improving your life in some way. Like, do you think improvements can only happen? Do you think advancements are possible when you don't believe that you have the ability to think for yourself? Do you think that it's possible to build intelligence, to become more wise, if you don't think for yourself? No, I personally haven't seen it to be the case. I've noticed that my development and my advancements and my increases in intelligence, emotional intelligence, and all these things that are really useful to be a better human being, these things, many other things too, not just, but all these things, they don't happen unless I think for myself. They just don't happen. So the second thing that I want to share with you in this video is, if something feels wrong, trust it. Okay, trust it. Like, don't you think that if something just feels really, really bad, like you shouldn't go in that direction? Now, I know that kind of sounds confusing because, like, wait, Francis, but you just kind of said, like, be who you want to be regardless of how you feel. Now, that's the thing, because it's like, it's a holistic thing, right? It's the mind and the body. It's not just the feelings, and it's not just the mind, it's both. So it's understanding that, if you know you want to be something, and you know that something makes sense, and something feels wrong, then trust that. Trust that the mistakes that you've already been through, for example, like I said before, trust the things that you know are going to lead to old patterns and behaviors, and you could say perhaps dysfunctions that are not allowing you to be that person that you actually want to be. Like, trust that, you know what I mean? It's like, you know. And it's not about blaming people. It can sometimes feel like there's an energy of, yeah, this person has a strong boundary and they're blaming people, but it's not like that. It's not about blaming. It's like, you just know. Like, knowingness is going to always beat hope. Knowingness is totally different. Knowingness is that you've had so much practice, you've had so much repetition, you've had so much consistency in your life that you have a knowing that being one way is less preferable than another way. You've had that contrast. So what I'm trying to share is that if something feels really, really wrong, trust that, and absolutely trust that. Now, to conclude this video, what I want to share with you is to understand that you are the power. I want to just make that really fast. I want to conclude this video with a quick point, which is that, people talk about, trust in consciousness, and trust, your higher self, and trust the power, trust the universe. But it's like, you know what? I want to make it very clear in an explicit way in this video. You are the divine. You are consciousness. So it's like it's not like consciousness and the divine is somehow out there. No, it's right here. And when you decide to be who you want to be, you'll realize, and this might even sound like, I want to share this actually before I conclude the video. This might sound like a step-by-step tutorial, so it's like develop like a strong ego. It's like, well, aren't you just developing your ego? Okay, but if you want to have advancements in your consciousness, you do need to have a very, very strong ego and a very, very strong identity. And I know that sounds contradictory. to, what a lot of things will be taught in terms of what I've seen in the spiritual community. Not always, like some spiritual videos and, you could say teachers or mentors or guides, these words, like just people that are in the spiritual field, you could say. Some people will talk about this, but some people don't talk about it at all. And so I want to make it very clear that developing an ego is going to lead you to the realization, and I don't know how else to say it. This is the most explicit possible way that I can really communicate this. And, developing an ego is going to help you to, have a strong connection with your consciousness and all these things. Okay, so that's pretty much the video. I want you to really, really understand that you are the power. You are the divine. You are consciousness. You are all these things. Like, this is you. And if you have this perspective, then you'll start to realize, like, wait, I am my higher self. That's how you're going to take your power back. Like, and this might sound like airy-fairy new age, but this is so practical. This is going to be what leads you to sticking to those habits and those behaviors that you, again, know are who you want to be, because this is knowing. I've already experienced that frequency. I've already experienced that vibration. It's not bad, it's not good, but eventually, from a space of not seeing anything as good or bad, you have a preference. And that preference, to me, this is such I guess you could say a really, really passionate topic. And I don't know why I stumbled. I just didn't know if that was the right word. But I do have a lot of passion for this, because what I really believe, the reason I have passion for this is because, what happens is that I really believe that there's so many things in life that we value, right? Like money and relationships and all these things. But it's what I realize is that one big thing that people really want is connection. Is connection with yourself and connection with others. And that is, in this specific case, what I'm saying that word with the intention is of helping you to actually advance your consciousness. That's what I mean by connection. By connection, I mean, you're conscious, you think for yourself, and what makes life fun is to have a connection with others that are at a similar level of thinking, in terms of you could say what you're thinking, and you could also say how you're thinking. You can also say just, it's like when I see somebody that's very intelligent, thinking for themselves, being independent thinkers, I just know that didn't happen by accident. That probably happened through many a deep experience of contrast, where they maybe went through a lot of, you could say, their shadow and dark aspects of themselves. Because how can you develop intelligence and consciousness? You only develop intelligence and consciousness when you realize the contrast of not doing it, of not being conscious, of not being present, not trusting your intuition. You see what that's like. You go into all these chaotic realms. Maybe you convince yourself that's what you want to do, but you do want to do it in that moment, but then you do it and it's wait, something doesn't feel right. That's intelligence. And when I see somebody else that's being intelligent, being connected to who they are, thinking for themselves, to me it's wait a second, that's I can really appreciate that. It's very inspiring, and then it motivates me to be even more conscious and to advance myself even more, and to take back my power and to be who I want to be. It motivates me even more. So the key is to understand that you can start to take your power back by realizing you are the power. You are the divine. And so it's not outside of you. It never was. You can step into realms where it kind of feels like it's outside of you. It kind of feels like things are not happening the way that you truly want. But what's actually happening is that through all that chaos and all these things, you're still the power. You always are the power. It's always you. And so that's one perspective that has allowed me personally to take back my consciousness and to stop being, a slave to what you could call this hive mind or this matrix mind, or, whatever word you want to use, right? And it's not being, if you don't want to be a slave to your own mind, really what I'm trying to share, I said this includes this video, but I'm going to share this final point. Really what I mean by the matrix mind and the hive mind is your own mind. Because the biggest thing that you can be a slave to in life, in my personal opinion, is nothing outside of you, unless you believe it to be, but actually a slave to your own mind. If you're a slave to something that you believe, it is outside of you, relatively speaking, of course, but if you're a slave to something you could say outside of you, whatever it may be, really what's happening is that you're a slave to your own mind. That's it. That's all it is. You're a slave to your own mind. If you're a slave to something outside of you, you're a slave to your own mind, because you're a slave to you allowing yourself to make this choice to not think for yourself. And that's the kind of communication that I need to bring here to make it so clear that absolutely it is a choice to think for yourself, and absolutely it is a choice to choose to not think for yourself. And I'm going to be talking about that more in my book that is coming out, called The Power of Choice. It's coming out very, very soon, probably in the next, I think in the next week, honestly. I've been working on it for a long time, but it's coming out the next week. So if you do want to purchase that book, if you do want to go more in depth on this topic of free will, you could say, and having this choice to think for yourself, that book is going to go more in depth on that. So definitely, absolutely stay tuned for that. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, there's 2 ways to do that, and all the details for both of those ways to work with me are going to be down below in the description box of this video, as well as in the comments. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.